this also leads us to a little bit of where IBM played a role in some of the early days of your work, because I know there were some interesting...
My whole life. Well, IBM was the big name in computers. IBM was once the largest company in the world in terms of value, ever. You know, they said Apple recently took that position, but in terms of dollars that changed per year, IBM was there. Why? They had this big, huge mainframe called the 1401, you know, back in the days. It cost 25 million of today's dollars. They sold 30,000 of them. Some of you can do some estimates in your head, and you're going to come up with huge numbers of why IBM is a big company that's still around. A lot of money. And then in later years, does a big company just sort of dissipate, and youngsters just out of college, or you know, not even finishing college, start companies that kind of change things and take over the world? IBM did an amazing thing with the IBM 360 model. My second year of college, I got to program that machine and see a beautiful architecture that matched the programming methods. Every address in the machine was the result of a base register, an address assigned by the operating system, plus what the programmer wrote. And that way, any program you wrote for a tiny little machine with small registers, up to the huger machines, your program didn't have to change, and it would work forever. And as your company grew and got bigger computers, it would work forever. I loved that architectural thinking. I mean, I really was trying to push for us to do it when we had the great microprocessor that became our Macintosh and our Lisa computer. When that Motorola 68000 came out, it allowed that method, but it also allowed the older method of that got you into a lot of software problems, and eventually it was big problems for Apple. So IBM meant a lot of good things to me in my life. My business card today, I put my phone number. It isn't written anywhere, but it's just a bunch of punches, like an old IBM punch card. I grew up in the days of punch cards. You'd sit at a machine, punch some holes in cards, they'd read into a machine, and a computer could read holes, because computers couldn't really read text, and you couldn't give terminals to all the programmers to use. So we students in college would just do punch cards. And one of my favorite stories was at Berkeley. There were all these key punches for the computer that everyone had classes for, and at finals time it took 40 minutes waiting to get on a key punch to update your program and run it again to see what the next error was. There were two older key punches. They were all IBM key punches. Two older key punches for a different computer that was not in use, so nobody was on those key punches. Well, if you hit the parentheses key, you got the wrong holes. They were different key punches, different holes, different characters. I discovered that if you touch type, I did everything by touch typing. I was such a typist that in high school I beat the girls in typing too, actually, for speed. But some of the special characters on a key punch had to use two fingers on the same hand, on the left hand. And I knew all those. I touch type without ever looking at the keys. And so I went over to those odd key punches that were for different machines. And when I typed on them, they printed the wrong characters, but they got the right holes, and all the computer cared about was holes. So I actually I was then, I had a geeky, I could look at the holes and tell what it was.